Yes, the ceremonial flyover of CFL 18 Hornets, part of the pageantry of Milt-Stiegel Night. And the Blue Bombers' home opener against the defending champion Calgary Stampeders. A cool July in the Manitoba capital. And fortunately, it is dry. We were told that it should not rain tonight. As we get set for Winnipeg and Calgary, John Huffnagel said that one of the hallmarks of his team last year, the ability to bounce back from adversity. He wants to see that on display tonight. And on the other sideline, a turbulent week for Mike Kelly, but undeterred. He is in quest of his first victory as a head man in the CFL.
Yeah, he says that the Derek Armstrong incident is behind him. He is no longer part of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and feels that the team had a very good week of practice and is ready to take on the defending Grey Cup champions.
And they short kick it. That ball is recovered by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So from the get-go, a quick start for Winnipeg as they catch the Stampeders off guard, and James Johnson comes up with the football.
Well, just like that, he catches the Calgary Stampeders sleeping on the opening kickoff return. A little squib kick, little onside kick to the right side. Traveled the necessary 10 yards necessary, and an early start for the Bombers.
Jonathan Hefty with the recovery. What a way to start the football game as Mike Kelly opens things up with an interesting call and gives Stefan LaForge the football to start. Here's LaForge looking for his first CFL victory, and he's got Robbie Bryant down to the Calgary 40-yard line, the man who scored the winning touchdown late last year when these two teams met here at Canadians.
A little bit of a shaky start for this offense in week one in Edmonton. Of course, the weather was a factor in that game, a torrential downpour, so they really didn't get going. But this is a good start to give these two some confidence between Robbie Bryant and Stefan LaForge.
17-yard pickup for Robbie Bryant. And now Fred Reed off the right side, gaping hole, and Reed is down near the 15-yard line. Well, Fred Reed had 92 yards last week, 3 runs over 20 yards, and an early scamper here.
This is what the Bombers did do well in week one. They ran the ball very well. In fact, 162 yards rushing in that game versus the Edmonton Eskimos. And when I talked to most of the defenders for Calgary today before the game, this was their concern. Fred Reed and Lavaris Giles.
22 for Reed, so 4 times already he has 20-yard runs in the early season. Pressure here, LaForge gets it away. And that ball incomplete, intended for the fullback, Darryl Stevenson.
Let's take a look at that starting offense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Of course, Stefan LaForge, the starting quarterback. And behind him, that single back will be Fred Reed, who already has one nice play, along with Robbie Bryant, the wide receiver out there. Out there, no Derek Armstrong. There is Bowman, who will replace him in the lineup of the receiving corps. And there's the offensive line with Kelly Bates in at guard, former BC line.
Starting lineups brought to you by Nissan, fan and proud sponsor of the CFL. 2nd and 10, the play action fake to Reed on a roll. Open man, and bring it down. Robbie Bryant went up, but unable to hold on.
So far, this series by design has been very successful. And what I mean by that is the play calling has been quite good. You see open receivers on pretty much every one of these plays. In this case, it was Robbie Bryant who sat down in the middle of that zone defense, and LaForge just let that ball sail on him a little bit. He knows it was his fault because he brings that one down. Robbie Bryant makes the catch and probably scores.
So Alexis Cerna, who missed the 47-yarder, which would have tied the game and forced overtime at Commonwealth last week. That was his only attempt of the game. Checks in early here to attempt a 24-yarder. And Cerna puts it through. So the short kick by Cerna and a field goal on the opening drive for the Bombers. Well, Mike Kelly puts his stamp on this game quickly with that decision to short kick to open the game. And a good start for the Bombers.
Well, he certainly put his confidence behind his starting quarterback. I mean, of all the young quarterbacks in the league this year, Stephon LaFours has probably the greatest opportunity to establish himself because how much he is backed by his head coach, Mike Kelly. A lot of people that aren't sure about LaFours here in this province. Kelly is behind him 100% and a good drive to open this game.
5 plays, 39 yards, and that short field goal, and now the Stampeders get their hands on the football. It's Titus Ryan spun down quickly. Good cover by the Bombers, fired up for the home opener. Neil McKinley led the charge, and Henry Burris leads out the Calgary offense, saying there were too many week 1 mistakes last week against Montreal.
Well, you know, he threw for 247, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Wasn't a great afternoon against Montreal, great evening, but he should be better tonight. And one of the reasons he will be better is because he's got his go-to guy, Kenyon Rambo, back in the receiving corps, along with Titus Ryan and Tim O'Neill at center for Rob Lazio is one change in the O-line.
Good news, they do get Jeff Pilon back at right tackle. And here's the man who perhaps most important add to the offense, Kenyon Rambo, who led the CFL in receiving last year, 100 catches, 1,473 yards.
Yeah, this is the first time we get to see the 2 league leaders in the offense. You get the leading receiver in Kenyon Rambo, you get Joffrey Reynolds. Titus Ryan didn't play bad in relief of Kenyon Rambo in week 1, as probably as well as you can expect for a first game.
Gain of 7 for Rambo, so 2nd and 3. And they empty out the backfield. Here comes the rush, dumped out over the middle and incomplete, intended for Jermaine Copeland. 2 and out to start for the Stamps. And a little hostility at the end of the play.
You mentioned Jeff Pilon back in the O-line. He's going to bring an edge to his game, the 10-year veteran.
Speaking of edge, there's Tyrone Williams.
Tyrone Williams back in the lineup for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Not scheduled to start this football game, but he is going to rotate through. He's trying to make his presence felt early.
So Burke Dales to kick it away, and James Johnson is back, and Dales puts that out of bounds. As we check for the flag that finally is tossed for the kick that went out and not inside the 20-yard line.
I think there was a lot of people looking at this matchup after Calgary lost game 1 versus Montreal, winning Grey Cup champions, thinking that they were going to come in here and really take it to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But I like what Matt Dunnigan said before the game. And, you know, obviously he gets this from talking to a lot of players in Winnipeg.
Illegal kick, punt out of bounds. Calgary, number 16. 10-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Make him do it again. But I like what he said when he talked about the attitude that the Bombers have for their home opener, which is they can walk in, but they're going to have to limp out. And I think that's the type of attitude that Mike Kelly is trying to teach these guys, that when you're at home, you've got to protect your home turf.
As he said, I want a team that knocks the other team backwards. They push Calgary back to re-kick, and now Johnson across the 35 to the 40, and then pulled down at the 43. The Bombers with just 24 return yards last week on 10 Edmonton punts.
Mix things up on that Calgary defense a little bit. John Hufnagel's moved Michael Benjo to an inside position. Played defensive end in game 1 and last year. Well, he'll move back inside. Odell Willis will play the defensive end for him. Trey Blackman in his 2nd start at middle linebacker. Graded out real well against Montreal. And the defensive backfield have the new halfbacks in there, Devonzo Tate and Ronnie Amati, who played pretty well in game 1, according to Chris Jones.
Here's LaFours on a roll. R.J. Franklin the catch, and he's quickly pushed out by Dwight Anderson on the corner.
I mentioned the confidence that Mike Kelly has in Stephon LaFours, and he worked with him in Edmonton all last year. He knows his personality, feels like he is a natural leader. He's a very athletic quarterback. He has mobility. He can move around. Kelly will have him play up under center for most of the evening. He doesn't like the shotgun formation.
5 for Franklin, 2nd and 5. And LaForge rolls, takes off, and he'll get to the first down stick before he's pulled down by that rookie middle linebacker, Trey Blackman.
And here's that mobility we're talking about, and why Mike Kelly likes him, because there's two things that happen in this play, and we're going to have to show you LaForge in behind center again. He's not back there in the shotgun. Take the snap directly. Now watch his mobility. He sprints out to his right, sees things break down in front of him, and then gets the corner back out to his left in the first down.
So the ball at midfield and a first down, and here's Fred Reed straight ahead. Dwayne Carpenter got a piece of him, but not before Reed lunges ahead close to another first down.
You know, Mike Kelly, after last week's loss to Edmonton, said he even admitted that he might have got a little cute. I mean, this is a brand new offense. It will take time for this unit to gel. And he admitted that after the game, maybe I got too cute with all my new motions and all my new plays, and I should just simplify things, get Fred Reed the ball, have balance, and allow the athletes decide the outcome. And I can see that simplicity early on in this game. He's just handing it to Reed and letting him do his thing.
We are going to see balance. Last week on first down, 18 runs, 17 pass plays. They ran more on first down than any other team in week 1.
That's very tough to defend. As a former defensive player, I know when you're running the ball successfully on offense, everyone in the defense, not just the front seven, that includes the secondary, they have to keep their eyes in the backfield. They have to peek to help with the run support. And when they do that, Chris Jones' unit now takes their minds off of their responsibilities in pass. So it's very difficult to defend.
And the Stamps surrendered the most rushing yards last week. And they'll stick for the first down. Straight ahead, Stephon LaForge behind Avi Khan and left guard Brendan Labatt.
You saw Chris Jones. There he is again in his second year in Calgary, 8th in the CFL. Was with Montreal prior to his getting to Calgary as their defensive coordinator. And yeah, he said that to me before the game. We've got to shore up our run defense. One of the reasons Mike Labenjo has moved inside.
First down for the Bombers, driving, and Reed, a couple of stutter steps, and Shannon James stepped up, filled the hole, and helps bring Reed down.
A lot of teams going with the smaller linebacker, and Shannon James right here is that small linebacker for the Calgary Stampeders at 5'10", 205, a guy who can move around. But of all the small little DB-type linebackers in the league, he's probably one of the best run stoppers.
At the time, James holds Reed to a gain of 3, 33 yards in the game for Reed, and LaForge airing it out, Robbie Bryant, and that's picked off, but there is a flag, and pass interference will be the call.
Yeah.
Milton Collins has the ball, but Winnipeg is going to maintain possession.
No question, pass interference. Milton Collins makes contact with Robbie Bryant before he gets to the football. So he's going to bump him, gain a body position advantage right at the bottom of the screen. There's the bump, and then he moves over and he picks off the football. So that contact was made, bumping Robbie Bryant before Milton Collins got to the football. That's why the flag came out.
It's a 32-yard penalty, and the ball marked at the Calgary 8-yard line.
You can see the bump.
Collins with an interception last week. First and goal, Bombers. LaForge rolls into the corner, and that nearly picked off. Ronnie Amati had his hands on it for a moment.
You know, rolling out as a quarterback can get you outside the pocket, and it can put pressure on the defense, because if you're outside, there's a chance you could run with the ball. But the downside of rolling is you now told the defensive backs that there's really only one area of the field you can throw to, and that's the outside, the sideline. And you can see the jump that Ronnie Amati got because of that knowledge.
So 2nd and goal for the Bombers. And LaForce looks into the corner. Terrence Edwards! Touchdown! Got in behind Devonzo Tate. And the Bomber fans like this start.
And I like the start of Stephon LaForce. We're seeing a little bit of a leadership that Mike Kelly talked about. Some people were questioning his arm strength, but I like this throw rolling to his right as a lefty. That's the tough throw to make coming back. And boy, does he drop that in. That's perfect accuracy.
Looked a little like the guy who he was the understudy of last year, the quarter route that Ricky Ray would throw, albeit southpaw style. And Serna adds the extra point midway through the first quarter. The home side enjoying a 10-0 lead. Terrence Edwards, the touchdown, capping a 7-play, 67-yard drive. Just over 4 minutes. Quick start for the Bombers tonight. Titus Ryan, the 104-yard kick return last week to help Calgary get going, and he'll haul this one out close to the 50-yard line.
Terrence Edwards had 76 catches, and he knows how to work a defensive back in man-to-man coverage. Here he is, and here you can see Devonzo Tate right here, who's playing way inside shoulder. Now, as he's going to run this corner route, Edwards knows that he's inside, so he's going to set him up and then bang, back out to the corner. See that little jab step with the left foot? Out to the corner, LaForce drops it out over the shoulder of Devonzo Tate. Nice route running, and maybe an even better pass.
Early movement there by the Bombers. Let's find out if Tyrone Williams was drawn offside.
Now, did I see Terrence Edwards hold up gloves with Derek Armstrong's number on them? That was interesting.
Well, he has been quite open the last few days that Derek Armstrong is a friend. He's a good guy. And that has been the prominent story of the week.
5-yard penalty remains first down.
And Tyrone Williams jumps the gun. And the Stampeders get a 1st and 5 from their 54. And a little lob pass and a completion to Jermaine Copeland.
Take a look at that Winnipeg defense. There's the front four, Fred Perry, and that Kelly Malvold trade with the Edmonton Eskimos. And Gavin Walls, the leader in sacks last year with 10. Baron Simpson back in the middle. Joe Lovendon out, so Shabazz will play linebacker. And there is your secondary. Hugh Craver starts at corner, but James Johnson back on the roster.
And no Doug Brown, likely to return next week after meningitis. There's a flare to Nick Lewis. And for the 90th consecutive game, Nick Lewis has a catch.
Yeah, Nick Lewis is trying to get the ball, spread it around a little bit to all of the targets. I'm a little surprised again that early on in this game, and there hasn't been a lot of possessions for Calgary yet, so I'm sure they're going to get back to it. But Joffrey Reynolds had just 6 carries for 19 yards in game 1, and again, pretty quiet early on here.
2nd and 3 as they go 2 back with Derek Watson, and he'll take the pitch. The newcomer's first carry, and he is upended by Sadiq Shabazz. Great play by the Sam linebacker, the former Eskimo. Stopping Watson short of the first down.
It was a nice read by Shabazz because he plays way inside here, and he's got to respect the play action that comes right here from Joffrey Reynolds. So he's got to hold for a second there. Then he flies out to the pitch and is quick enough to run it down and make the tackle short.
Watson taking the spot of the injured Demetrius Summers. A running back that caught the eye of John Hupnagel in the preseason, but a good defensive play. And we do have a measurement, but it is almost a full yard. It may be exactly a full yard.
And another trade with the Edmonton Eskimos. This one, Sadiq Shabazz coming over for Kai Ellis.
And Shabazz making an impact early in a Winnipeg uniform with the hit that knocked Jesse Lumsden out last week.
Joe Lobendown out of the lineup as well. It's Sadiq Shabazz is a guy who can play a lot of different positions for you. If you're in trouble, you can put him back at safety or play defensive halfback, and he can also play up there in that linebacking core.
Coach, they send the field goal unit on 3rd and 1 from the 38. You're down by 10.
Wind at your back.
Get the points is what John Hufnagel says. And Sandro DeAngelis usually automatic. And that one off the up. Oh, and good. A little bank shot from DeAngelis. And John Hufnagel sees his team hit the board. 45-yard field goal by Sandro DeAngelis. The first quarter points of 2009 for the defending champs.
I think that's a good decision to take the field goal. Your offense isn't exactly lighting it up. Get some confidence.
There's Fred Reed starting from his 20. And a good return up to the 38 as we check in with Sarah Orleski.
Chris, Mike Kelly has made a lot of changes to this team since he came on board. No shortage of them coming on the offense. A lot of the veteran receivers told me that when they arrived here this season, they were told whatever you knew from last year, throw it out the window. There are no similarities. Well, what there are some similarities to is the offense that Mike Kelly is running right now is similar to the one that he ran when he was offensive coordinator here in the 1990s when TSN's own Matt Dunnigan was the quarterback. Mike Kelly said it's the one that he's most comfortable with, and that is what the basis of a lot of these offensive packages are based on.
And as we usually see, Sarah, Stephon LaFour's under center, and Fred Reed is stuffed on that run.
Yeah, Mike Kelly does not like the shotgun formation with his quarterback 3, 4, 5 yards back from the center. In fact,
What gave you that idea?
This was his direct quote with regards to shotgun. For flag football and guys that haven't coached quarterbacks very well. You know, there is a purpose for shotgun, and I think Mike Kelly, more than anything, feels that being under center suits the skill set of Stephon LaFour's best.
2nd and 8, pressure on LaFour. Bryant is drilled by Milton Collins, separating the receiver from the football and forcing 3rd down.
Collins is upset. He got that pass interference call on the last series. He steps up, puts a big hit on Robbie Bryant. Now he's playing low by design of the defense from Chris Jones. That's a good hit. But again, the timing out for Stephon LaFour is coming from under center. He drops back now, turns and fires. He didn't even see Collins behind.
Collins, a former receiver who was moved to safety late last year and
Car is active.
made some good plays in the first couple of weeks. Mike Renaud, the new punter, acquired from Calgary. And Marcus Howell, the Winnipeg native, has the football. Not much on the return as he's met quickly downfield. 40-yard punt, 2 on the return. Wendy's Friday Night Football continues next. Game 2 of our doubleheader tonight. The Hamilton Tiger Cats taking on the BC Lions in Vancouver. Live coverage begins immediately following this game, as Dave Randorf mentioned. 4 teams tonight, all looking for the first wins of the season. Let's see if Henry Burris has something to build on after that field goal drive. And here's Joffrey Reynolds off the left side. And Reynolds up to the 38-yard line, close to 7.
You see Henry Burris up under center there. It's something that Mike Kelly talked about for Stephon LaFour's. Here's what taking a direct snap from center can do for the quarterback. It can open the playbook tremendously with regards to the running game. A lot more you can do when you take the ball directly and turn around and maybe have 2 backs or 1 back behind you. That's one thing.
Out of the gun now, though, on 2nd and 4, and the quick hitter and
Goodness.
hit from Shabazz. The ball popped loose, and Sadiq Shabazz is a missile out there right now.
Well, he's been all over the field. I mean, we've been talking about him all game long, whether it be the special teams. I'm sure has he made a play on offense yet? I mean, doesn't get better than that.
And give Kenyon Rambo credit because he does hold on, and it is a Calgary first down.
Oh, yeah.
At the Stamp 43, 5 receivers wide side, quarterback draw, and Henry Burris pulled down by Baron Simpson as Burris goes over 3,000 yards rushing in his career.
He's going to wrap up this thought with the shotgun, Chris, and that time Burris again in the shotgun. Of course, Calgary loves it. The other thing that being under center can do for a quarterback is it gets the ball in his hands quickly. So if he wants to hit a hot receiver right off the line, it's a direct snap bang, and he can do it. But the shotgun has its purposes. It obviously keeps the quarterback off the line of scrimmage right away. It takes the lineman a little longer to get there.
Second and long. And Burris throwing the out. It's complete, and the first down. There's Rambo again in front of the newcomer, Jonathan Hefney. But, and you don't know if Mike Kelly made the comment tongue-in-cheek.
I think he did.
John Hofnagel knows a little bit about coaching quarterbacks, and from Watto to Belichick, I think most teams usually use the shotgun.
Yeah, the shotgun works quite well for a lot of teams and a lot of very, very good coaches, and I think it was a little tongue-in-cheek from Mike Kelly. But the bottom line is there's one more thought with shotgun, and that is when you're in the shotgun as a quarterback, you have to, for a split second, take your eyes off the coverage to make sure you catch the ball cleanly. So it does take your eyes and your focus away from reading the defense, and that is the first job of the quarterback. But, of course, many championship teams and Hall of Fame coaches use the shotgun formation.
3rd and 1 as Rambo was held short of the first down, and the punt team comes on for the Stampeders. Final minute of this opening quarter.
I think a good quarter for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
And they are going to reset the clock and tell us.
Please put 56 seconds on the game clock, 12 seconds on the play clock. The 20-second clock, please.
You know, Mike Kelly has taken a lot of heat in this coming out of training camp. A lot of things he said, a lot of decisions he's made. He's brought in his own people, got rid of Kevin Glenn, completely changed the defense. But I have to tell you, when you look at the end of the season and evaluating all the games we watched, I think a lot of the moves he's made have been moves that he had to make. Like for the first one being improving his secondary. I mean, he had to do that, and he's done it here.
Dales with the kick, bouncing down around the 15. And Johnson will get forced out there.
You know, when you talk about offensively, he's got Fred Reed in the backfield. And, took a little bit of a leap of faith based on the preseason on Lavaris Giles as well, because, remember, Joe Smith was here with Winnipeg coming out of training camp. Now, Fred Reed didn't get any snaps in the preseason and actually was a little concerned because of all the moves that Mike Kelly was making. But he said, no, don't worry. Your job is fine. But again, he wants his people to run his system and to try and get that Winnipeg Blue Bomber edge back, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Not many 8 and 10 teams stand pat.
Yeah, there you go.
There was a no yards, 5-yard penalty against the Stampeders. So 39 seconds remaining in this opening quarter. The Bombers will scrimmage at their own 23. And the Fours downfield, and Brandon Browner got a hand on the football. You mentioned too cute was Kelly's personal critique of his play calling in week 1, and they have attacked a lot more in this first quarter.
Yeah, they've attacked. They've moved the pocket, full roll from Stephon LaFleurs, either be left or right. He's throwing from both sides. And they've also involved that running game with Fred Reed to keep the balance in the offense. And I think there's a lot less sort of cross motion and things that may have been giving them problems in Edmonton. They're trying to simplify a little bit.
2nd and 10. And the draw, here's Reed. Bounced off first contact, but Dwayne Carpenter there to pull him down, well short of the first down. And Juwan Simpson also in on the play defensively.
Confidence in your running game to go ahead and try it on 2nd and long.
No time on the clock, and that is the end of the first quarter, so they'll switch ends, and Winnipeg will have the wind at their back for the punt when we come back for the second quarter at Canadians. First quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
You know, once again, a slow start for the Calgary Stampeders, defending champions, but I think more importantly, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers off to a very good start offensively. Stephon LaForce has a big question mark over his head with regards to fans here, and maybe some of those doubters are starting to be swayed.
Felt like the Bombers just initiated things right from the opening kickoff.
You know, they really did. I think Sadiq Shabazz on defense has really made a statement early in this first quarter, and I like Stephon LaForce's confidence. He's rolling well, he's throwing the ball on the run, and they've got balance with Fred Reed. So, yeah, I think the Bombers won that first quarter.
Stampeders will get the ball here to start quarter number 2. As Mike Renaud stands inside his 10-yard line. And Titus Ryan awaits. Short kick. And a bounce out at the Bomber bench. And they'll spot it at the 48. So good field position for the Stampeder offense.
You know, it's just a matter of time before this Calgary offense really does get clicking again. I mean, they've off to a slow start a couple of times in a row now, a couple of games in a row. But when you have Joffrey Reynolds, the league's leading rusher, Kenyon Rambo, the league's leading receiver, throw in a Nick Lewis and a Jermaine Copeland and a Brett Ralph who had a good finish down the stretch last year, this offense will get going again.
They take to Reynolds. They throw the long out. And Brett Ralph is pulled down. They're calling face mask at the Calgary sideline, but Keo Craver was there to make the play, and no penalty marker.
George Cortez is not worried about the last one. He's got to be a couple of plays ahead. We'll take a look at the last one for you. A little bit of wobble on this ball. It took a little while to get out there from Henry Burris, but there you go. Didn't look like he got a piece of his shoulder, and it looked like a face mask more than anything.
So 2nd and 3 out of shotgun. Crosser, Lewis, and a lunge. Lost his helmet, but gets a first down. And I think the Winnipeg defense has got the attention of this Calgary offense.
Yeah, they are really throwing the hat early in this game. You know, Lewis is going to run that short crosser. Baron Simpson tries to track him down and finally gets there, puts his helmet right between the 8 and the 2, and Lewis loses his top there.
Remember, Baron Simpson was hurt in week 4. A torn pectoral muscle that ended his season. There's Burris has a man, and Jermaine Copeland unable to bring it down as they work on the rookie, Jonathan Hefney.
Can't throw it any better. You know, you can't throw it any better if you're Henry Burris, and this is the type of play that Jermaine Copeland comes up with more times than he doesn't. And for this offense to get going and start to click, he's going to have to make that catch, because that's a very catchable ball. Jermaine Copeland has tremendous hands, as we know, and make that one.
And a guy with a history of playing well against Winnipeg, 9 touchdowns in his last 8 starts against the Bombers. 2nd and 10, and they'll screen it to Reynolds. Joffrey Reynolds runs into traffic and will be stopped short of the first down at the 43.
You mentioned Mike Kelly and changing this defense, and he had to shake up the secondary, which he's done. Jonathan Hefney in. Got Keo Craver over from Edmonton, and Lenny Walls, a former Calgary Stampeder back there, and I like that group. There's Jonathan Johnson, and then you add the leadership of Baron Simpson in the middle and the play of Sadiq Shabazz, and all of a sudden this defense looks a lot faster, a lot more confident, and stronger than it did in 2008.
Third down and Dales to punt. And he blasts this one into the end zone. And James Johnson will let it roll out for a single point. So it's 10-4 Bombers. Well, it's almost become an annual tradition here. Milt Stegall night in Winnipeg, and he's standing by with Sarah.
That's right, Chris. Milt Stegall, the newest inductee into the Bomber Hall of Fame, and also our newest colleague at TSN, starting tomorrow on the panel. Milt, what has this week been like for you? I mean, you've already had a street name here. Now you're into the Bomber Hall of Fame. But what's this whole week been like?
It's been truly special. Not only for me, but for my family. You know, my two sons and my wife. The Bombers, Laubauer, the entire board, everybody in Winnipeg, they really set it out for us. So it's something that will be remembered for a long time.
Do you miss playing?
I miss playing. Like I say, mentally, but physically the body's fine. But, of course, I would love to be out there, but I played 17 years, so football pretty much ran its course for me.
Mike Kelly said that you spoke to the team this week. What were your words to them?
Well, to basically put it in a couple of words, I told them don't take this for granted. Every time you step on that field, every time you step on the practice field, whatever it may be, don't take it for granted because you never know when it's going to be over with. So go out there and have fun, enjoy it, and win. Because it's Milt Stegall night. You know they're not going to lose on Milt Stegall night.
Thanks so much for this, Milt. Have a great time. Enjoy being on the panel. Don't let those guys give you a tough time.
I won't try it. No singing, right? Thanks.
Well, first of all, he has to sing. So Sarah can whisper that to him.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie again, and he'll have to sing a song. And second of all, I'm guessing that all of Milt Steagall's suit and ties are in the dry cleaner.
Must be in Toronto.
I guess they're already. He's sent over the clothes to Toronto to wear on the panel. He's kind of casual out there on Milt Stegall night, but congratulations, 15,000 yards.
And maybe the best free agent acquisition of the season.
Yeah, that's a good pickup by our guys.
Brock Ralph with a good pickup, and now looking for Ralph again. Incomplete as he's tracked by Shannon James.
147 career touchdowns for Milt Stegall, and
he wasn't bad.
Yeah, 10,000-yard seasons. That's just tremendous consistency. He had the big playability. And he said he misses it, especially being down on that sideline with a lot of his former teammates.
Married, man? I thought you had to be 18 to get married.
He doesn't have to sing right now, but very soon.
How did he get married?
Second and 10 for the Bombers at their own 48-yard line. Again, they go draw on second and long. We've seen that a couple of times tonight. And that's the newcomer, Lavaris Giles, who was Calgary property and a guy who lit up the preseason.
Oh, did he ever? Did he ever, Chris? I mean, 26 carries in 2 preseason games, well over 200 yards. They played Hamilton, 14 for 77, had 2 touchdowns in that game. Then Montreal in the preseason. And keep in mind, he's not really playing every single snap. He goes 12 for 161 and a touchdown. Just huge numbers, and that's why Joe Smith isn't here, and he is.
We found out that he likes a fast track because on the mud at Commonwealth last week, just 5 yards on 6 carries. Marcus Howard loved that to roll into the end zone, but no such luck. He'll get buried at the 4. That's a 54-yard punt by Mike Renaud. Been another slow start for the Stampeder offense, and they're backed up at their 5-yard line here. Trailing 10-4 early second quarter. And this is Joffrey Reynolds' time. And Reynolds drives the pile across the 10. And a 6-yard pickup. Well, he had a brilliant year, not necessarily against Winnipeg, just 77 yards against the Bombers on 22 carries. But a quiet start last week. That just his second carry. Second and 4. And again, Reynolds takes the pitch. And Reynolds driving close to the first down, and Barron Simpson trying to make sure he doesn't get there.
I'm not sure what's more important when you're talking about a running game, the yards that you gain on it or the attitude that's required to do it. And what I mean by that is the offensive line gets a chance in every single run to lean on their front hand. And they get in that stance and they can white knuckle it a little bit, lean on the front hand, and they can drive off and they can become the hammer for a play rather than setting up to pass protect and having the defensive lineman become the hammer. And that attitude's important to have in your offense. And I'm not sure if that's even more important than the yards you get from the running game.
You need an attitude right now to be third and the length of a football from inside your 15-yard line.
And didn't go for it early on with the field goal way outside the 40.
So a third down gamble. Behind the rookie center, Tim O'Neill, or at least in his first CFL start. And O'Neill helps pave the way for a Calgary first down.
Good for Tim O'Neill because, that two things there. One is the confidence of Henry Burris to follow him. Rob Lazio had an elbow issue in practice this week and had to go get that attended to and was a late scratch here. But the other thing is for Tim O'Neill is that we haven't seen an errant shotgun snap or anything like that. So it looks like he's settled in.
University of Calgary product. Back to Reynolds on the ground as for the first time this season, we see the Stamps trying to establish a running game. There is a penalty marker on the play.
Against the Calgary Stampeders, I think this would be a hold.
Holding. Calgary, number 62.
That's the left guard, Jesse Newman, who did not start last week. He was injured in training camp, was in uniform last week, said he never dressed and watched from the sidelines since
Calgary, number 62.
he was a junior.
Half the distance to the goal remains first down.
Well, many thought it was quite a gamble for John Huffnagel to go with Dimitris Sumpas and Jesse Newman, two rookies at guard. In their first year coming out of the draft, first-round picks in 2008. Boy, did they pan out nicely.
They'll move it back inside the 8-yard line. Force under pressure, and the screen, Reynolds. And Joffrey Reynolds drilled out by Aaron Simpson.
That's the objective of the first play after a penalty. Get half of it back. Just don't worry about trying to gun it 25 yards and standing on your goal line if you're Burris. A nice simple play, high percentage pass, high percentage play, drop the screen off and try and get half of the lost yardage back and get yourself into a workable situation. Workable meaning 2nd and 10.
So what do they come up with on 2nd and 10 from deep in their own zone? They draw play Reynolds, and he's brought down by Pierre-Luc Labbé, the Quebec City native. Fills the hole and forces Calgary into a punting situation.
Little change up here for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on defense. There's Labbé right there, and look at Sadiq Shabazz way back now. He's been playing linebacker all game, but this time he drops back out and almost becomes the free safety. They leave Labbé up there, and he steps in and sniffs out that drop.
Well, the Bombers should get good field position. And Burke Dales stands inside his 5. James Johnson awaits. This is a spot where you still give up the safety or not.
He wasn't going to. He was kicking that.
He was a marker down. And it's a time count violation.
Oh boy.
Time count violation. Calgary, number 16. Remains third down.
John Huffnagel was not happy with Craig Dickinson, the special teams coach for the Calgary Stampeders, and this coming off maybe one of the best special teams performances of any team in a long time a week ago with 2 block punts and a big return for a touchdown, but they didn't like that delay of game call.
And they do punt even from the goal line, and not a great kick. And that'll go into the Calgary bench. And the Bombers are going to take over in Stampeder territory. Now John Hufnagel does a slow burn on the sidelines. Didn't like that series, didn't like the penalty. And there was an illegal punt out of bounds, but Winnipeg declines that. They'll take the 26-yard punt by Birkdales, and look at Winnipeg in business at the Calgary 38. Fred Reed follows the blocks off the left side and is drilled out at the 33. Reed with 214 all-purpose yards in week number 1.
And you look at that average, 7.1 yards per carry. In 3 years in Winnipeg, he's had 154 carries, 3 years coming into this game. And his average over those carries is 7 yards exactly.
And he averaged is 7 yards so far tonight. 6 carries, 42 yards, 2nd and 5. And LaFour's quick hitter, Terrence Edwards, passed behind him, and he was unable to bring it in with Devonzo Tate in coverage.
You know, as impressive as this offense was attacking in the first quarter, they're starting to bog down a little bit, this Bomber offense. I think they've had opportunities here in this first half to put some points on the board and take advantage of, again, a little bit of a sleepy Calgary team right now, and that ball a little bit behind the intended target. LaFour's has been off in this second quarter a little bit, and he's got to get that accuracy back. His numbers aren't great.
Just 4 for 12. The Alouettes, when they had Calgary in this funk, they took full advantage. And Cerna puts it up and through, so Bombers do enhance their lead. It's a 9-point Winnipeg lead here with under 6 minutes to go in the first half. CFL on TSN continues Saturday afternoon. The Rough Riders travel to Toronto to take on Kerry Joseph and the Argonauts. Live coverage begins 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. A couple of 1-0 teams in action. It'll be interesting at the Rogers Center.
Looks like Kerry Joseph's having fun playing football again. Not sure if last year was real fun for him.
No.
From the fours over there, quarterback in the sideline now too, trying to get everybody on the same page. And he's just got to get that ball back on target because an open receiver there.
Other things to give away, so I got to see that everything's status quo.
Right. So Alexis Cerna has a pair of field goals in this game. And LaFour's has hit Terrence Edwards with a touchdown. 9-point lead, but it feels like it could have been more. There's Watson. And Derek Watson is gang tackled before he reaches the 35-yard line. Well, we talked to Henry Burris about last week's sputtering start to the season.
It was ugly. I mean, it was just ugly from start to finish for our team. And we had some bright spots here and there. Special teams played well. Offense, we had a couple of good drives here and there. But to me, like I told everybody on our team, I thought it was the best dosage of medicine that we could ever have. Because for a team that hasn't lost since the end of September last year, it was as if we just showed up and things just happened our way. And that was pretty much the mentality it seemed like the team had last week.
And it's carried over so far tonight. There is a completion close to a first down for Kenyon Rambo.
Yeah, and I just, it's hard to put your finger on, but I don't see the urgency. I just don't see the jump in the step from the Calgary Stampeders. It's almost like they are in a bit of a funk. Kind of walk back to the huddle. Football is a game of emotion, and the team with the highest level of intensity is often the team that wins.
Longest completion of the night for Burris, 10 yards, and looks for Rambo again. That ball was tipped, and the play broken up by the corner, Javon Johnson.
I mean, you can take a look. I mean, this is not a bad route run by Kenyon Rambo. He's off the ball with good step. Can't cover it much better. But then I watched them all go back to the huddle, and it was not exactly hustling over and getting lined up, and not sure.
2nd and 10. Good protection. They dump it off, and Reynolds is brought down across the 50-yard line, but he's going to be a couple of yards short of the first down as Fred Perry came back to make the tackle.
You know, and when you got your intensity levels up and you're flying high and you're going at each other in a football game, and you don't make the first down, that's when the offensive linemen get going. You know, and they start talking to each other. And the only guy that's really looking upset right now is that one, the head coach. And I have a feeling that he might go in at halftime and maybe just tear a strip off of some of these guys and get them going.
Derek Burke-Dales. James Johnson, the former Grey Cup MVP on the returns tonight.
Maybe they can get the spark they need, Calgary, from a big play on defense. You know, last week, Chris, they got that from Trey Blackman, who, as the Stampeders got off to that slow start, then this happened. He stepped up, put a huge hit on Avon Colburn. And from there, they got 2 block punts right away, a return for a touchdown. The team started going, and the whole team seemed to start their comeback. So maybe it'll be defense and Trey Blackman that can step up and make a play.
7 tackles, a forced fumble for Blackman last week. Here's the pitch, and Fred Reed will cut back into traffic, and Mike Labinjo was there. And again, Labinjo at the nose tackle tonight.
By the way, that linebacker play, this is what it looks like, and if you drew it up, you want the defensive lineman to cancel out the O-lineman so the middle linebacker can then do what's called scraping to the run. So he scrapes in those 2 middle gaps, which are called the A gaps between center and guard, and then the outside gaps between guard and tackle are the B gaps. That's the linebacker scraping. That's what Trey Blackman did on that big play he made. You'll see Barron Simpson do it tonight. You want to occupy the O-line so the linebacker can make the play.
2nd and 8. Dwayne Carpenter dropped off into deep coverage, and there's Darius Bowman with his first catch. Milton Collins, the safety there, to bring him down. Bowman celebrates his 24th birthday today, and the guy who was kind of caught up in the middle of that Derek Armstrong controversy.
Well, and I'm gonna just continue with it a little bit for the controversy. I'm not sure if all the Bomber fans want it, but Darius Bowman there was about 2 yards short of the route he should have run. I'm thinking Armstrong makes that route a little bit better.
3-minute warning has been given to the benches. 3 minutes left in the first half. Then it's Rhoda at the half. And the guys are going to be good tonight because they hear footsteps. Stiegel is coming to town.
Competition gets the best out of everybody.
Boys will weigh in on what they've seen in this first half. And I would expect they may continue your theme about a listless performance by the defending champs. Not to take anything away from the home side that has this 9-point lead. And are fired up on teams as well.
Well, Chris, I mean, maybe it's because of expectations. I mean, you tell me. Am I being too hard on the Calgary Stampeders because they won the Grey Cup championship last year? We just expect more. I mean, that percentage is good, but it's been a lot of little passes, and this is not the explosive offense we're used to seeing. So maybe it's just expectations.
Well, especially when we've seen the performance in the first 2 weeks of the team that they faced in the Grey Cup last year.
That have looked very good. Absolutely.
Only 90 points in the opening 2 weeks for the Alouettes.
Yeah.
Here's Henry Burris trying to change things, and Brett Ralph has that go through his hands.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's just the focus. Jermaine Copeland, earlier on, remember the corner route right down by the sideline into Bomber zone? And, you know, that one was a tougher catch, but one that he's made many times. I mean, there's Ralph at the top, and this is a routine Brett Ralph catch. That's concentration and focus, and it's just a lack of sense of urgency and a peak to look downfield. They just, I don't know.
John Huffnagel maybe working on his next memorable speech right now. And that ball through the hands of the intended target. Jermaine Copeland can't hang on. 2 and out. And the Bombers are going to get the ball back late in this first half.
And it's not been on Henry Burris. I think that he is doing his part. That's 2 to Copeland now that have been in his hands. And there's a little bit of reaction that you expect as he talks to Dave Dickinson on the sideline about it.
And he mentioned last week we weren't focused the way we should be. And from this vantage point, it seems clear that's continued. Pressure on, and Deals gets it away. Not deep, and Johnson across the 45. Breaks the tackle, gets to midfield before he's hauled down by Wes Lysak. Good return. That's been a big improvement for the Bombers tonight over their season opener.
Now their offense comes out, and we talked just before their last series about Derek Armstrong and Darius Bowman running his route just a little short of that first down in the last series. When I look at that situation and what happened, Darius Bowman's going to have to fill some big shoes. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with Derek Armstrong. I would say I'm not going to take sides here. Go after this play.
1st and 10 from midfield. The short drop. Look over the middle, and that ball batted down.
I don't want to take sides here, and I won't. But I will say this. First of all, with regards to Derek Armstrong deciding not to play, and I'm talking to all the kids that are watching this broadcast as a coach. As a football player, you absolutely never, ever do that. You play no matter what your role is in that particular game. I think Derek Armstrong understands that. Having said that, I really believe that had Mike Kelly dealt with it a little bit differently, that he might have not only been able to trade Armstrong if he wanted to, but maybe have him back in the roster and had this thing resolved.
2nd and 10, and that's a good throw, and R.J. Franklin has a big first down at the Calgary 36.
And that's really why I don't want to take sides. I think, Mike Kelly, to do what he had to do as it evolved, is basically he had no choice. I hope that Derek Armstrong gets another opportunity because this is a first-time thing for him. He's not that kind of player. But, kids, you never, ever, as a player in any sport, when the coach gives you a different role, whether it be backup, whether it be holding a clipboard, you do what you're asked and you do it to the best of your ability.
LaForge looks for Bowman, who went up and can't bring it down. In that same corner where Robbie Bryant scored the game-winning touchdown a year ago.
Now, Chris, Derek Armstrong could help Stephon LaForge this year. You see what I mean?
A lot of people feel he was the kind of guy who could be the go-to guy, a young quarterback still looking for his first CFL win could lean on.
Mm-hmm. A possession receiver, a smart receiver that knows where the openings are, a big target. Look, Darius Bowman is a big target as well, but it's going to take some time for them.
2nd down, little shovel pass, and that was into traffic and nowhere for Fred Reed to go as Odell Willis, the newcomer at defensive end, makes the stop. So it's 3rd down, and Alexis Cerna will come on, it looks like, to attempt a field goal beyond the 45. Looks like it's going to be officially a 46-yarder. So from around the spot where he was iced last week,
yeah,
he won while the timeout was being called.
Did you read what Mike Kelly's been doing all week with Alexis Cerna?
Timeout.
Yeah, every time he goes to kick one in practice, going timeout.
No timeout from the Stampeders, and Cerna pushes this one to the right. And Marcus Howell concedes the single point.
Alexis Cerna obviously liked that one back last week against Edmonton. That would have tied the game. He missed it the second try. I asked Sandro DeAngelis, a perennial all-star, what he thought of Alexis Cerna, and he had high praise for him. You know, I mean, he said that for kickers to get to a level of consistency that's needed, Alexis Cerna is going to really have to work on the mental part of the game, and that's basically, I don't think that's a stretch. And I think when you watch Cerna, that's been his struggles over the last year and into this year a little bit. Now he has to bounce back from week 1, bounce back from that miss, because Sandro Giannis mentioned to me before the game, he said, you're not going to make every one of them.
Just had a flashback to last year's Western Final in the Grey Cup. Calgary trailing double digits both games, late first half. What did they do in both games? Drive the field, score a touchdown, and change the momentum. They have just over 70 seconds to do that here, and maybe change the halftime speech of John Hufnagel. As our producer John Hines just said, maybe they got him right where they want him.
That sounds familiar.
Second down, they need a play here, and they get a flag as Brett Ralph drops the ball. Is that a fumble? Winnipeg's got it. Keo Craver. We've got a couple of things to sort out. Penalty marker in the backfield, and they're ruling a fumble recovery for the Bombers. So what's the penalty?
Well, I believe the penalty in the backfield will be against Calgary. And I wasn't sure on the sideline whether or not Brett Ralph had possession of the football long enough.
Now the officials are conferencing, so they want to reconfirm the initial call that was a catch and a fumble. And I'd be surprised if we don't review this.
Holding, Calgary, number 64. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a turnover. First down, Winnipeg.
With a penalty call on Jeff Pilon.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the catch. Make sure right here. No question, possession for Brett Ralph. It looked like he caught it, then turned around before he lost it.
Great play by the former Eskimo Craver, Bowman, and Dwight Anderson closing quickly.
And Calgary didn't look at all like they wanted to challenge that to see if in fact it was an incompletion.
I'm not sure it wouldn't have been overturned, but it might have been worth the challenge.
You know, I think because of that contact made by Keo Craver, as he turns there, he has possession with both hands on each tip of the football and then loses it going down, but Craver had made contact.
Terrific play by the corner. Last 2 years in the Arena League. And the look into Bowman, who makes the catch. And the former Saskatchewan Roughrider is a first down as the Bombers move the chains with 34 seconds remaining.
This is that under center advantage for Stephon LaForce. He gets the ball immediately. Watch this. You can't do this in shotgun. Stephon, go ahead and run it, guys. LaForce on the snap. Bang, 1-2, out of his hands, hot route on the inside slant to Darius Bowman. That's what playing under center, that's an advantage of.
Working against Ronnie Amati, the rookie defensive halfback for the Stampeders, first down. And that ball is caught over the middle. Brock Ralph with the catch, drilled by Wes Lysak, but another Winnipeg first down, and a Baker's dozen left on the clock.
There he is, Brock Ralph, playing against his brother, Brett. 5-4 when he's facing his brother. He's got the edge.
A couple of rushes last week. Running plays for Brock Ralph, but a big catch here. And they've got 13 seconds, 2 shots for the end zone.
You got to give Mike Kelly and this offense a little credit. After that Brett Ralph fumble on the sideline, he hustled the offense out there quickly so that Calgary couldn't challenge and take another look. They got a snap. They got it out there. They're moving the ball quickly, trying to take advantage of this turnover. And, of course, they're fighting the clock here at halftime.
First down. Reed in the backfield. LaForce Terrence Edwards, touchdown! Edwards double dips, and the Bombers extend their lead.
And here's the difference a year makes. The West Final and the great Calgary Stampeders came back in the last drive.
Yes.
In 2009, they turn it over, and the opponent, the Bombers, 3-4 quick plays, quick throws from Stephon LaFours, and they're in pay dirt.
And now the lead feels more representative of the way the first half has unfolded. So a late touchdown, but this one by the team to extend the lead. And it's all Winnipeg in this first half against the defending champs.
And as Sarah mentioned early on in the game about Mike Kelly's offense and Stephon LaFours taking the ball from center, he's shown us in this series some of the advantages of that, how he can set up at different depths. This time he does take basically the full drop for a quarterback to allow Terrence Edwards to run his route and throw on the break, but we saw a couple of passes in that series where it was quicker throws coming out of there real fast out of from the center, and he's back on target.
So Stephon LaFours gets a little tighter grip on what he hopes is his first CFL victory. Well, Terrence Edwards always seems to play well against Calgary. The last 2 seasons, his best single game outing was against the Stamps, and here tonight, he has a pair of first half touchdowns from Stephon LaFours. Short kick, and Teo Johnson ends up with the football after bumping with Titus Ryan. And 5 seconds left. And
yeah, you mentioned Terrence Edwards, Chrissy. Remember that July 24th game where Bombers came back to beat Calgary here in Winnipeg, and Edwards had 7 catches, 143 yards in that game. His partner, Romby Bryan, had a big game in that one too. 152 yards. When they shocked Calgary, and it was really the only time all season that Calgary lost 2 in a row, because they went and lost to Saskatchewan in the next game. So Winnipeg kind of handed it to them in that come-from-behind win.
Last play, first half. And Joffrey Reynolds is brought down. And the fans here are going to give their home side a stirring ovation. An impressive first half for the Bombers. Not so much for Calgary.
Down 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, it is Friday Night Football.
Bombers in the house. Let's go, baby.
It's showtime.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the CFL and proud home of the 2009 Grey Cup. 21-4, Bombers lead headed to the third quarter, but first, Sarah Orleski with John Hufnagel.
Coach, only 4 points in the first half for your offense. What type of adjustments do you need to make in the second half?
First of all, we got to stay on the field. You know, we got to make some production on first down, so we're not in second and long the whole night long. We got to be able to run the football better. We got to catch the football and don't turn it over. The big thing about this second half is the offense needs to stay on the field, move the ball, and put some points on the board.
Thanks so much for this.
Very good.
Well, that offense in the first half is flat as the flapjacks they're serving at the Stampede this week.
Yeah, they are. And the turnovers, the drop passes, those are all signs of lack of focus. We'll see if they can get it back here in the second half.
Remember, this team trailed by 20 last week and fought back to get into a tie with Montreal. But Reed, the return, and the Bombers will start close to their 40-yard line as Stephon LaFours has the momentum as he leads his offense out.
Well, you know, Stephon LaForest kind of looked in this game so far like a quarterback in his 7th start in pro football. What I mean by that is he looked good out of the gate in the first quarter, had a little bit of a lull at the beginning of the second quarter, and then came on strong in that last drive, 113 yards. But pretty impressive that he has out-battled, out-dueled Henry Burris, MOP finalist from a year ago.
Guy who had 5 starts 2 years ago, 4 possessions last year, and they hand it off, and here's the speedster Lavaris Giles. Penalty marker behind the play as Giles is brought down by Ronnie Amati. And a holding call will bring this back.
It's an example of
Holding. Winnipeg, number 62. 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
example of Mike Kelly's offense has changed. That's Steve Morley getting the holding call.
Former number 1 pick overall of the Calgary Stampeders back in 2003. Part of a revamped offensive line for the Bombers with the defections of Dominic Picard, Alex Gauthier, and the trading of Dan Goodspeed. So 1st and 20, and that one good. No, what a catch by Terrence Edwards. He snags it inches off the ground.
Well, look at this catch. And again, they're trying to get the offense moving here so that the Calgary Stampeders can't take another quick look at that. But even if they wanted to challenge that, that looks like just a great catch by Terrence Edwards. And he pulled that one just off the turf. It never touched the turf, I don't think, at all. In fact, you know, if a receiver pins it to the ground to get possession, it would be ruled incomplete, but I don't think it touched.
He's having himself a night, and boy, it's as close as it gets. It is a first down, says Al Bradbury.
2,000-yard seasons, both with Winnipeg for Terrence Edwards. Started his career in Montreal.
156 catches in the last 2 seasons. Got off to a slow start last year. Didn't have a touchdown in the first 7 games. He had 7 in the final 8. And he has 2 tonight. And the Bombers have a first down with Fred Reed back in at tailback. Trying the right side, and not much there as he's brought down.
A lot of people were, wondering about the offensive line for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You mentioned him, Chris. Steve Morley at tackle. Brendan Labatt in just his 2nd year. Started all of 18 games in year 1 as a rookie. Con in the middle, Kelly Bates and Glenn January. It's a group that has a lot of experience in the CFL. Not necessarily an all-star group, but certainly capable.
2nd and long, and for the first time they get to the quarterback, and that's the newcomer, Odell Willis.
There he is right there, and that's been the change for Chris Jones in this Calgary defense, to put him on the outside and have Mike Labinjo back down inside in the middle. And this is a mismatch that favors Calgary because they've got little Fred Reed up against Del Willis. 6'2", 265, and Fred Reed at 5'9", 189. That's not fair.
And that's the first sack of the season for the Calgary Stampeders, who did not get to Anthony Calvillo last week.
Let him go! Let him go!
Renault with the punt. Titus Ryan lets it bounce around and now picks it up and steps out. 33-yard punt. Renault was bearing down looking for the loose ball, but picked up at the last second.
Well, it is a Friday night, and right now, Shadiq Shabazz for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a front runner for our Gladiator.
That tells you how good a game he has when you're declaring front runners early in the 3rd quarter.
I am, and it's a big night.
Stampeders start at their 35. And Henry Burris, another drop, looking for Kenyon Rambo, and Javon Johnson has been in the neighborhood all night.
And there's a method to my madness, though, Chris, because the young men and women in our military, in our armed forces, are the true gladiators. They're putting their lives on the line. And this is Infantryman Cesar Montez, member of the 1st Battalion Royal 22nd Regiment from Canadian Forces Base of Valcartier, Quebec. And Montez leads a briefing before a patrol through Kandahar province in Afghanistan. We thank you for your service.
2nd and 10 and an interception. Bombers come up with another turnover. And Ike Trout is out inside the 30-yard line. Deep drop by the Will linebacker.
Boy, it's a luxury that Mark Nelson, the defensive coordinator for the Bombers, has, because just out of your screen, you're going to see Ike Charlton drop way deep, a linebacker that now becomes a safety. And with Sadiq Shabazz on one side, who can also do that, Ike Charlton on the other, it really can confuse the quarterback, because he's not sure if the defensive back, Ian Logan, is back in the middle, or if it's Ike Charlton. They can switch it up, give him all kinds of different looks. They got him reeling out.
The Iceman with the interception, and the Bombers might be able to put Calgary on ice right here. Pressure, and LaForce just gets it away. Drilled by Shannon James.
Let's go. Hey, you better believe in
Nelson
us.
has some experience as a defensive corner. Back in '92 with Edmonton, he coached in the CFL, coached in San Antonio with the Texans, and with the Toronto Argonauts in '96. Has a couple of Grey Cup rings as a coach. And Mark Nelson, who is the Nick Nolte lookalike back in the good Nick Nolte days.
Yeah, you want to clarify that.
Yeah, but he is putting a good defense on the field early in this season. They have been flying around making plays. Shabazz has led the troops.
2nd and 10. LaForce going to take off, and he'll get drilled. LaForce pays the price for a couple of tough yards, and then a little shot there between Shannon James and him, and look out. Flags down, obviously, and how do the officials sort this out? But a little fire from Stephon LaForce.
And a little fire back from the Calgary Stampeders. Something we haven't seen in a game and a half so far from the Calgary Stampeders. Let the officials sort all of this out. LaForce is going to it's straight back, and then when he sees the open edge, he just takes off to try and run. Now, here's initial contact. It's Brandon Browner. Really puts his shoulder in it. Yeah, he really puts his shoulder into him. There he is right there coming up, and he right in the ear hole, but Stephon LaForce was well inbounds. Now, LaForce doesn't like it, but he was inbounds.
And there was James cruising by after the fact. There's no question the Browner hit was a legal hit. Browner Shannon James went by, and he and LaForce exchanged shoves, and then everybody got into it.
Well, that's what Brandon Browner is saying to the officials. He said, look up on the replay clock here in Canada Stadium. You'll see that LaForce was inbounds when I hit him. And it was a good shot.
And the officials still sorting things out.
LaForce has got to get himself out of bounds when he gets that close to the sideline. I'm sure Mike Kelly's mentioning that to him now.
Well, will it be 3rd down, or does Winnipeg win the penalty decision here?
LaForce started it, Chris, but this is the kind of melee on the sideline after the fact that you kind of hope the officials sort of just say, let's just play ball and give a penalty to each side or a couple to each side. Good solid hit, clean hit.
I don't think there was a flag there, and now the exchange.
There's the first push. Okay, so you can give you a penalty to LaForce for that.
And then everybody gets excited.
And then Collins coming in late, you could get a penalty there.
And the book comes out.
Yeah. And I saw the official actually turn the page there. I think he's going to page 2. Bradbury. You go through the...
So does this take Winnipeg out of a field goal range, or does it give them a first down, or we'll see how these penalties offset?
Maybe they will be offsetting. There's one. And Collins right there from behind on Edwards could be another.
One January in the middle of it for the Bombers, and then everybody. Wes Lysak's there, Milton Collins on somebody.
Well, you know one thing.
Wow,
you know
Trista Black just drilled somebody.
You know one thing from Winnipeg's perspective is that once they know their quarterback is in there, they're going in fist flying.
And the other possibility here, does anybody get tossed?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Look at it. Now, can you guys just roll it back for a second? I want to... Boomer, is Buzz and Boomer are the mascots. And I just... Well, let's roll it back because I want to see... I think this is Boomer, not Buzz. But Boomer was coming over. He's right there. And now he sees what's happening and he goes, you know what? I am getting out of here.
What's no part of it?
There are multiple fouls on this play. We have offsetting face mask fouls. Calgary, number 14. Winnipeg, number 82. We have offsetting unnecessary roughness fouls. Winnipeg, 59. Calgary, 14. We have an unnecessary roughness penalty. Calgary, half the distance to the goal. First down.
Wow. So out of all that, it is a first down. Milton Collins tagged with a pair of penalties. Kelly Bates, Terrence Edwards called. But most importantly, the Bombers get a first down.
It's the extra one. I'm not sure how you sort all that out, but those officials are right on the spot, and they're watching closely who's throwing the punches.
And the ball's now down on the 12-yard line. LaFleur's quick hitter, and that falls incomplete at the feet of Brock Ralph. And that stamp front is starting to turn the heat up.
Maybe that'll get him going. And that was a blitz from the safety, Milton Collins, there that caused the problems for Stephon LaFleurs. And him being right under center, if you can time it up from the safety spot, you should get an open gap. That's what he got. That's why LaFleurs had to throw it away. And the gap was that big. He was telling you exactly how big the gap was that he ran through.
Mike Labinjo checks back in at defensive end. 2nd and 10. Draw. Lavaris Giles. And he's down to the 2, close to a first down.
Good call. This is about the third or fourth time, I think, Chris, that in 2nd and long, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have gone to the draw play. And the first couple of times, it didn't work all that well as far as getting the yardage necessary, but it did plant a seed. And then sure this surprised them that they do it again down here in the scoring zone, and this time it works.
Lysak saves a touchdown, but it is a first down. The only team that rushed for more yards in week 1 was Montreal, and the common theme is now they're running against the same defense that the Alouettes had success on the ground with. John Osterhaus, the fullback, he takes the handoff, and the big man can't get there. He'll be driven back.
Was he ever? And the Calgary defense was there so quickly. I believe it was Juwan Simpson off the edge, but they were there so quickly that John Osterhaus did not even get a chance to get his pad level down. He got the ball and he was standing up so tall that all the leverage went off the edge here to Juwan Simpson, who steps up and lowers the boom right there.
Osterhaus converted from defensive line, has a pair of touchdowns in his career as a receiver. Here's Giles, he's in! Touchdown, Lavaris Giles! His first to the CFL.
Boy, he's got a little giddy up. tight end formation. Little extra blocking help, and watch how quickly Giles gets to the outside. High knees, sprints, outruns the angles of the linebackers. Really had no chance.
He had a long touchdown run straight up the middle in the preseason that got on the highlight films. Real burner. Extra point is added, and the Bombers are in charge in their home opener. And it has been thumbs up here in Winnipeg tonight. Lavaris Giles, the latest to get to the end zone, and 14 points off turnovers for the Bombers so far tonight.
Ain't no whip. Still ain't no whip.
Serna sends it deep. And here is Derek Watson, tripped up.
It's called sudden change, and when you turn the football over, all the momentum switches in a hurry. Calgary Stampeders have done it a couple of times. Ike Charlton gets this one, turn the ball over, the offense takes it right down, Giles punches it in. Sudden change, and the defense has to come up, hold their neck, and try and hold the opposition to at least a field goal instead of sudden change, and Calgary hasn't been able to do that.
That little scrap on the sidelines helped extend it. And now the Stampeders hold a big one, and a decent-sized hold for Joffrey Reynolds straight ahead.
Let's take you back to the end of the half. Sudden change. Calgary Stampeders had the ball, a chance to close the gap. Fumble on the sideline by Brett Ralph. There's the turnover. Winnipeg right down quickly to score. Take advantage of those turnovers, 14 points off turnovers, and you keep momentum.
This time the play fake to Reynolds. Now the rush. And a pass, and Brett Ralph's having a tough night.
How's he ever?
Second drop, he's had a fumble. And a guy who played very well last year, in fact had a 2-touchdown game against the Bombers.
And you can see the frustration starting to mount for Henry Burris. That was a tougher catch for Ralph, but he makes that catch. He makes that catch on a regular basis. Both hands on there. Again, I think he took a little peek. And he might have to stand beside John Hupnagel for a while.
Second and 10, 6 receivers out. Double pump and another interception. Ian Logan, the safety, as the Stampeders come unglued.
Are they ever? I know in the stats the interception goes under the name of the quarterback, Henry Burris, but in this case I believe it was Jermaine Copeland, his receiver, that's going to be the reason for the pick. He's coming across, and watch how Copeland will put the brakes on right here. And you can see Henry Burris thought he was going to continue on his crossing route, come all the way across the formation. So he put the brakes on, Burris tried to lead him, and Ian Logan has a pick.
3 turnovers by the Stamps, 2 interceptions by Burris. LaFour's back to work, and this one intercepted as it goes right back the other way on an interception by Devonzo Tate. And the rookie halfback.
And the first time, Chris, after that sudden change, after that interception, that Stephon LaFour's has not been able to go ahead and capitalize on it. And in fact, he turns it over himself. And this was just a timing issue. Took way too long to get that ball out there. That ball has to be in the air right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, too many steps. And Devonzo Tate says, I've got lots of time now to get underneath that throw.
Stamps get it back. Burris pumps. Now looks deep. Ryan Thelwell's got it at the Winnipeg 30-yard line. Thelwell, who was on the sidelines but didn't get into game action last week, has his first catch of the year and his 400th career catch.
Well, it's about time that the Calgary Stampeders offensively started to push the field or push the ball down the field a little bit more and try and go vertical. Little pump fake Ike Charlton had a very good chance at it. In fact, I think he touched it. Tremendous concentration from Thelwell.
34 yards. Marcus Howell in the game as a receiver. And that ball caught by Rambo as he continues his duel on the sidelines with Javon Johnson.
That's how you throw the timing out. Remember the Stephon LaFleur's throw was a little too late. Watch the timing on this one from Rambo, number 85 on the sideline. 1, 2, turn around, ball arrives. Almost impossible to defend.
First down. First time has Thelwell to the goal line. And he'll be stopped at the 1. Touchdown saving tackle by Sadiq Shabazz, but Ryan Thelwell's provided a spark.
All right, put that last interception by Henry Burris on Jermaine Copeland. And he looks good in this series. Timing is back, and Thelwell's helping to get this offense on track.
First and goal. Burris, the toss, touchdown, Joffrey Reynolds. And so after it looked like the Stampeders were just about out of it, an exchange of turnovers, they get back in. And they're going to go for 2.
I believe it was Teo Johnson, the tight end in this formation, that's going to step out and make the big block on Sadiq Shabazz, who's the only guy that for the Bombers that was able to get outside to make that play, and he couldn't because of that block from Johnson.
So Burris and the offense stay on the field, trying to make it a 16-point game. Marcus Howell in motion. And Burris looks deep for Howell and overthrows him. And it will remain an 18-point lead. But a little life for the Stamps after the touchdown by Reynolds. Well, here's the turnover.
Timing issue for LaFleur's, and again, when you get the turnover, you get the sudden change, that offense wants to take advantage of it quickly. Henry Burris did just that.
So when everything was going Winnipeg's way, including the interception by Ian Logan, one defensive play got it back into Calgary's hands, and we may have ourselves an interesting fourth quarter. Fred Reed does some dancing, but Mark Kalist will bring him down before he gets to the 30-yard line. Let's join Sarah Orlesky.
Chris, I spoke to Coach Hufnagel and asked him about the makeup, the identity of this team. He said it's too early to establish one so far. What he would like to see, though, is that this becomes a team that can bounce back from adversity. That's something that they did well last season, but they didn't do it last week. The challenge will be to do it this week now. We'll see. He said last year they could answer and reload. If the defense made a big play, then the offense was able to capitalize on it. The challenge now down by 18 will be to see if they can do it this week.
Quick movement there, a little flinch on the offensive line. And just to pick up on that thought from Sarah, you mentioned something interesting. I think a lot of coaches are looking for the identity of their teams this early in the year.
Well, you can go across the board. I mean, you're right. John Hufnagel's one of them with the changes, just 7 starters returning on defense. Mike Kelly, not really sure what he had coming out of camp. I mean, he knows what he wanted to build, and he's still doing that. Wally Buono in BC. I mean, I think maybe only the Montreal Alouettes, the only team.
Winnipeg 57. Remains first down.
That's Brendan Labatt, who flinched last week on the field goal that made a 42-yard attempt, a 47-yarder, and he was kicking himself after the game for that movement. So it's 1st and 15. LaFleur's dancing around, nobody home early, and now he finds Romney Bryant for first down at the 43. These
rollouts for Stephon LaFleur's are really cutting the field off for him offensively. But as long as his receivers are crafty and can slide into the open area, he'll be able to do this. You see, now he can only work from basically the numbers to the sideline. But again, it's up to the receivers to find that little hole. Robbie Bryant did there.
19 for Bryant, and a Bomber first down. Reed the setback, takes the handoff, and there's some room. A cut back, and a surge near midfield. First down run for Fred Reed.
This is a running play that's designed to use the momentum of the offense moving to its right to confuse the defense, have them overreact, and then open up cutback lanes. Fred Reed took advantage of them.
Numbers on the night for Reed as we tick down to just over 3 minutes remaining here in quarter number 3. And a draw play for Reed again. And Fred Reed down to the 48th of Calgary. 8 more for Reed.
Oh, it's nice to watch Fred Reed work and ply his trade. I love how he keeps his body angle low, his pad level low, right back here, and also his vision. This play is designed to hit it up right to the left side of the formation, but you could see the problems he saw there, and he had nice low pad level, kept his legs churning, but had that vision to bounce back to the right.
Tackle made by Alain Kashama. Reed, an Eastern All-Star last year when he took over in the second half. And Robbie Bryant can't hold on second and short.
And don't be surprised, Chris, if you know when we talked over the first couple of weeks of the season of the small linebackers, so don't be surprised if you see more of this from teams. And Winnipeg is doing it now with John Osterhaus in. The big fullback, you could play him at tight end, and then a small tailback like Fred Reed to run off the block. As the defenses get smaller in the linebacking corps, you can imagine that the offenses might start getting back to two backs and start running more power games.
That's the cycle we've seen over the years. There was a hesitation there. I was going to suggest 3rd and 2 from this spot in the field is tempting.
You thought about it.
But instead, Mike Renaud on, Titus Ryan deep. Renaud looking for the sidelines, and he gets a good hop. And Ryan will be buried at the 10-yard line. Good special teams coverage once again. Well, for every sack in tonight's game, Purelator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purelator, where business is going. And the Stamps finally got their first sack of the season, and these two teams are in the trail position so far.
You know, the Bombers defense have played real well tonight, but they only have one on the season. And folks, Saskatchewan's only played one game so far this year. They had 9.
There's Joffrey Reynolds going nowhere.
The Riders are on pace for 162 sacks. And I say sarcastically. But that was one tough night for the BC Lion offense, protecting their quarterback, and they will try to do better later tonight in our doubleheader.
Of course, this Winnipeg defense, without the services of Doug Brown yet, they've been stout. They're getting some help from the home fans right now. Second and long, and Bellwell's got another catch. Number 3 with his 3rd of the night. A guy that thought he might have played his final game in the CFL last year in the Grey Cup game, until the coach called him 2 days later and said, "We need you back."
Injured in training camp, so he's really just getting started tonight, but he has been the Calgary Stampeders' best player on offense.
Valuable guy who backs up at 3 positions in because Brett Ralph's had trouble tonight. And there's Rambo, and he tried to spin off the newcomer Jonathan Hefney.
You know, one of the things I like about this Bomber defense is their versatility and how Sadiq Shabazz can rotate through. Mark Nelson's got sort of a bunch of similar looking pieces of the puzzle that he can move into different spots, and they can confuse opposing offenses.
I mentioned Hefney, who actually was in the preseason at linebacker, now at defensive back, and Shabazz, one of the deepest back right now. Another second and long. And Burris goes to Thelwell again. Might as well go to the hot hand. Ryan Thelwell with another first down to keep Calgary alive as we head to the fourth quarter. That's the final play of the third quarter, and Ryan Thelwell is trying to help Calgary get back in it. But it's Winnipeg with an 18-point lead. Third quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Points off turnovers have been a difference maker for Winnipeg tonight so far, and you can see they've had a little bit better time of possession and more first downs. And Calgary just now, and I say that over the last 5 or 6 minutes of that third quarter, just now getting going.
Well, you remember back to what John Hufnagel told Sarah Orlesky at the end of the half. Our offense has to stay on the field, and they didn't early in the third quarter. Now, finally, it looks like they're getting things established.
The guy they've gone to is Ryan Thelwell, and the veteran who, now that Henry Burris is leaning on, he's got somebody that he can rely on, because Brett Ralph's had a real tough night. Rambo's played well in his first game, but we haven't seen much of Nick Lewis, and Copeland's dropped a couple.
First and 10. Burris has time from the pocket. Jermaine Copeland with the catch. And he's cut down by Ian Logan, the safety, at the Winnipeg 52-yard line.
There you go. Just as I mentioned, he had dropped a couple. He comes over the middle, but you can always tell. I know Jock Climbing's listening right now. You can always tell when a receiver is having a bit of a confidence issue, because he goes and catches the next one with every part of his body he can. Chest, arm, shoulder, left hand, right hand, whatever he can get on it, he'll try and cradle it in.
Brett Ralph back in the game. There's a pump and go, and Rambo was well covered by Javon Johnson. There's a flag in the backfield and a holding call pending against the Stamps.
Javon Johnson, perfect position on Kenyon Rambo. Didn't fool him at all. And when Henry Burris does the pump fake, it takes longer, which asks the O-line to block for longer. When they have to block longer, that's when they can draw that holding call.
Bombers take the down with the yards.
Number 64. Penalty is declined. Second down.
And they'll take the down.
See, Kenyon Rambo wanted to try and run the double move here on Javon Johnson. Down the field. Well, he didn't even move. He didn't even do the double move. So the pump fake from Henry Burris was just for show.
The senior state, Jeff Pilon, was called for holding. They declined it, and it's second down. And look at Watson. He took a hit and will be short, as Ian Logan's been active from the safety spot tonight.
And it's been down low. Ian Logan has come down underneath, and I thought this was going to be a huge collision. Derek Watson just slipped under it, because the angle of attack there from Logan right here. Watch his angle coming down. And this looked like it was going to be some kind of collision.
And now it's 3rd and 4. And the Stamps offense stays out. McKenna, first down, Nick Lewis. Pierre-Luc Labbé was there, but not before Lewis moves the chains on a gutsy third down call from John Hufnagel.
Gutsy, but the clock is an enemy now for the Stamps. They got to try and continue to push the football and take some chances. Nick Lewis recognizes the zone drops from the linebacking core and just curls up in front of him.
First down, Calgary, Winnipeg, 34-yard line. Burris steps up, guns to the end zone, and Copeland was all tied up with the rookie, Jonathan Hefney, there again. A matchup of former Tennessee Volunteers. And it looks like from that reaction, they've talked about it.
Yeah, Hefney spent some time, had a coffee in Tampa Bay with the Eagles as well. I thought it was interesting. He's played both corner and safety at Tennessee, which means he can cover And he can hit.
4-year starter, which means he could play. 2nd and 10. Burris has an open man, and Ryan Thelwell has been money in the second half.
Well, without him, the Calgary Stampeders really have nothing. I mean, Thelwell's the guy who's really opened it up. He's stretched the defense. He's got in behind him. He's got the deep one. And this time he comes up. He's going to take a look and measure it. I was going to say first down yardage, but they'll take another look at it. He had to come back for the football. And then good second effort afterwards.
Just 23 catches last year. He has 5 here in the second half, just short of the first down.
And there is plenty of time. This is only an 18-point game. The CFL, I've seen at times inside of 2 minutes, you can score 3 majors. So 12 minutes is...
When you miss a 2-point convert, you're always open to a little second guessing. And had they kicked the convert, it would have been a 17-point game, a couple of touchdowns and a field goal to tie. You wonder if that point becomes big when this night's all done.
And I'm just wondering if he was just trying to get as many points as possible.
3rd and inches. Second, 3rd down gamble, and Burris with a good push should move the chains again.
And again, right behind Tim O'Neill, the center, in his first start. 3 years with the Calgary, or in the CFL, 2 with the Calgary Stampeders, and Tim O'Neill had not started a game until tonight. He has not had any problems with shotgun snaps. He has not had any issues with the snaps directly to Henry Burris, and when Burris has had to go on the sneak, he's gone right behind O'Neill.
Just under 12 to go. Burris the fake, and then through the hands of Copeland, incomplete.
That one interception by Henry Burris, I put on Copeland for stopping when he probably shouldn't have. But that incompletion's got to go back to Burris. That's the danger area. And yeah, Copeland's mad at himself because he thinks he could have made that catch, and he's made it before. But that's a high throw in a traffic zone.
10th play of the drive. Second and 10. The pump, and over the middle, big collision. Nick Lewis hangs on, and Sadiq Shabazz unloads again. But it is a stamped first down.
Little patience there from Henry Burris to wait for Nick Lewis to open up.
First and goal, Calgary from the 9. Burris for the corner. Copeland diving for the pylon. Do we get a signal?
I think he made it.
The official's going to talk about it. Copeland still appealing. And it looks like it's second and goal from the 1.
Only the ball has to break the plane of the goal line.
He nicks the pylon, and you wonder if we'll see a challenge flag.
Was he out of bounds with that right foot?
Hasn't hit the ground. That's a touchdown.
But was he out of bounds with the right foot before he hit the pylon? Was that right foot out of bounds?
If he is, it should be marked at the 3.
That's right. We're going to take a look.
Which makes it a gutsy challenge because John Huffnagel might lose a touchdown and 2 yards here.
No, but you know what is of as much concern for John Huffnagel? You're in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That's a concern too. If he can win this challenge, he doesn't have to run another play. And he can go right back at it, try and get his defense out there, get a 2-0, get the ball back, and save a play in a few seconds on the clock. I'm just wondering about the right foot. I agree with you, Chris. I think he did touch the cone with the ball and therefore cross the plane of the goal line. But did he do it with the right foot out of bounds. If the right foot's out of bounds right there,
It will be reviewed.
but that's a tough angle.
And again, if the officials don't mark him out at the 3, it should indeed be a major.
Well, but if they don't have enough evidence to change the call, overturn the call, it's on the 1 yard line because that's where the ball was marked, correct?
I'm thinking if all they're looking at, did he break the plane? Of course, they're looking at everything in Toronto. It's a tough spot on the field for us to really get the best angle on whether he did step out.
And if you challenge just breaking the plane and the official notices something else in the challenge, they can call that as well. Maybe this angle will be a better one. It's awful tough to tell if that foot almost looks inbounds from there, but that's a bit of a stretch to say it's conclusive.
Heck of a battle between those Tennessee Volunteers.
Well, and this is the longest review. This is how tough this one has been because this new format with the command center in Toronto has been very efficient, very quick, sometimes inside of a minute. This one's taking a little bit longer.
I would say it's inconclusive whether he stepped out. It is conclusive he hit the pylon. And whether or not that is what they're going to boil it down to, we'll find out very shortly.
Well, and Mike Kelly didn't challenge the foot. Hufnagel's wondering if he crossed the plane, so if that's the challenge, and the other evidence is not there to say that his foot was out that the officials would notice, then you're right. Should be a major. We'll see. Again, this is important for Calgary to save valuable seconds.
Let's find out what Jake Ireland and Tom Higgins have come up with.
After the review, the play it stands as called on the field. That is Calgary's first challenge. They are not charged a timeout.
Also, they call it out at the 1, and
they gave him some forward progress and said that the ball and his foot was out of bounds and gave him some forward progress to the 1.
a little surprised.
That's
maybe one play from making it all academic. 2nd and goal from the 1. And Henry Burris keeps and scores. Well, that didn't take much longer.
No, it didn't, but it's interesting because that's 6 seconds, okay? So 6 seconds, and you see when 10:27 go or 10:26 go in the rest of this game, we'll see if that affects Calgary. And I think they're going to go for 2 again.
Offense stays out. So now a 12-point game. A 99-yard touchdown drive. The best of the early season for John Hufnagel's crew. 12 plays, 6 minutes, and 4 seconds to hit pay dirt. And now trying to make it a 10-point deficit. Theo Johnson in for blocking. And it is 2 for Rambo. And it is 28-18. Stampeders coming on here in Winnipeg. Reminder that Wendy's Friday Night Football continues. Doubleheader action tonight. Ticats and the Lions next from Vancouver. Rod Blackwing Ford standing by. But this one's still in the balance. With 10 minutes, 14 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. And Henry Burris making things interesting in this second half. Fred Reed will twist across the 30-yard line.
Well, let's take a look at the touchdown from Henry Burris. He has run this play at the goal line before in this game in the third quarter, and the last time he pitched it, he's going to go down the line of scrimmage here, and he just reads the Winnipeg edge player, whoever that may be, in this case Jonathan Hefner, and Shabazz. If Shabazz goes out to the pitch, he takes the run, and then he goes to the two-point convert. Quick slant, Kenyon Ramble.
Last week, a frantic comeback fell short against Montreal. They were down by 20. They've trailed by 24 here tonight. Here's Fred Reed with a burst up near the 50-yard line. 18 for Fred Reed as he rips off a big one on a first down run.
Brendan Labatt with a nice block at the point of attack. He's going to get good down block, and that's what Fred Reed notices, and that's why he comes out of there and is untouched till he gets to the secondary.
Reed with 92 last week. Has the ball again. A stumble there as he crosses the 50 to the 52 and adds 4 more to his total. 6th in rushing last year in what amounted to about a half season. And he comes up on the limp, and Lavaris Giles has to come in.
I think he did that on his own. The cuts were so sharp, he might have broke that spat or maybe slightly twisted his ankle there.
So the sprinter Giles is in on 2nd and 6. LaFours, Osterhouse.
How about that?
Pretty nice catch for a defensive lineman. Turn fullback, but it will be short of the first down at midfield. Of course, he did have a couple of touchdown grabs. Some sticky mitts for the Fergus, Ontario native.
And that's athletic. I mean, Osterhouse, fullback, converted defensive lineman, played on the O-line, can play tight end. He made that look routine. No problem. I got you.
He's on the glamour side of the football now.
He's going to have someone walk up and say, sweet. Sweet catch. He's going to what?
So Fred Reed's rushing provides a little of a field position edge for the Bombers, and now they kick it away. Titus Ryan is back, takes it on one hop. And a nice burst by Ryan to bring it across the 30-yard line. Sean Main brings him down there.
Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona doing it right since 1939.
Well, the plot thickens here midway through the corner, picked off, intercepted. Sadiq Shabazz down to the 5, touchdown. Tip ball of Shabazz pounces on another Calgary turnover.
He has been all over the field tonight. Sometimes he's deep. We've seen him make some big hits. And he drops under coverage right there. Tip ball at the line of scrimmage.
I believe Dorian Smith got his hand on it. And a little tightrope act on the sidelines. He did stay in. And the extra point is through. And now 21 points off turnovers for the Bombers. Well, Sadiq Shabazz with a big play on defense to restore a more comfortable Winnipeg lead.
On a New Mexico State. And he takes advantage of that tip ball at the line of scrimmage.
All those big hits earlier, and maybe the knockout blow right there. Titus Ryan from his 15. And Pierre-Luc Labbé won't let him cross the 25-yard line.
I mentioned New Mexico State with Sadiq Shabazz. who is falling right underneath this throw to Kenyon Rambo on the outside, tipped at the line of scrimmage. And I mentioned New Mexico State because at New Mexico State, he was actually a backup running back to Kenton Keith at one time and showed a little bit of those running back skills down the sideline, although was he out of bounds or not at the 4 and 3 yard line? That looks very close.
The quarterback is in, and Joffrey Reynolds takes the handoff and plows his way to the 40-yard line. So Barrick Neely is in relief of Henry Burris.
Well, 3 interceptions, and that's John Huffnagel's seen enough for now.
Well, they turned the ball over 3 times last week in the 4th quarter.
Fred Perry got a good push. I think you're right, there was Dorian Smith with the hand.
And Neely, play action fake, and then unable to hook up with a lunging Jermaine Copeland.
You know, the Calgary Stampeders as a team, I know Henry Burris just got pulled, but as a team, they've got to take a look in the mirror here, only because you can't get into a hole like this in the beginning of a game and just sort of sleepwalk through the first half. I mean, they start to get things going in the 3rd and beginning of the 4th, but then one play and it kind of shuts the door on you.
I'm still surprised by the hook with over 6 minutes to go.
Well, you know, I'm just thinking John Huffnagel's probably trying to send a bit of a message here. You know, I don't think all the interceptions were necessarily Henry Burris' fault. I think back to that second one with Copeland coming over the middle, putting the brakes on, and not continuing through on his route. But having said that, and also do you blame a quarterback for a knockdown at the line of scrimmage? But having said that, I think John Huffnagel's just seen enough of the sort of lackadaisical play.
He did say he wanted that offense to stay on the field, and they've made a couple of costly turnovers in the second half, 4 on the night. James Johnson's done a good job this evening, and he's wrapped up at about the 30-yard line. Time for tonight's game story, brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
This is what's interesting. You look at the yards between Burris and LaForce, and Burris has the edge. But the 3 interceptions to 1. Big difference in this game. Fred Reed closing in on 100 again. We'll likely see the ball, if he's healthy and can get back out there. He was a little nicked.
And it is Lavarish Giles in the backfield. Bombers like to keep their hands on the ball and keep some clock as LaForce gets outside and then hits the deck.
John Osterhaus stays out at fullback. And again, right back to the beginning of the show when we talked about the difference between shotgun and under the center. With the quarterback under the center and the fullback in the game, now you can run different type of running plays that you can't run out of shotgun. Out of shotgun, you basically have one option. You have the running back beside you. You can hand it to him, sort of sprint jaw action. That's about it. You go to under the center and a fullback, now you can run it to the fullback. You can run crisscross action from the 2 backs. You can get lead blocks. You can get pitch outs either side. That's what Mike Kelly likes in his offense.
Delay here. R.J. Franklin shaken up right at the Calgary bench in enemy territory, but Marcus Howell, former teammate over there. But the Sadiq Shabazz interception and touchdown return has certainly changed the momentum of this 4th quarter. And again, it's going to be a familiar message for Calgary. That's 2 potential frantic comebacks, but too little too late. Bombers, the only Eastern team to beat Calgary last year, got their first win at home against the Stamps. It was in week 5.
Ryan Dinwiddie, starting quarterback in that game.
But this is a much different first win if indeed the Bombers hold on, and that doesn't look good for Franklin. And now he gets a little weight on it. Mike Kelly's next 3 games, 2 against Toronto, 1 against Hamilton, so they go right into the Eastern Division, and then things will get a little clearer.
The 4-point games. The 2 you get, the 2 they don't get. Matt Dunnigan said it right off the top, that the mentality for the Bombers in this one was they can walk in, they're going to have to limp out. I saw that with R.J. Franklin limping, but the Calgary Stampeders as a team are limping.
2nd and 7 after a 3-yard run by LaFleurs, who dropped it. And does he get back on it? That's the last thing LaFleurs wants to do right now, and they'll continue to battle for it. Looked like LaFleurs got his hands back on it in desperation. Came up with the football.
He did that on his own.
And he's come up talking to that Calgary defense a few times. He's been feisty all night long.
Again, that just slipped out of his hand. Looked like he took a peek out there to Giles. Thought he might just toss it out to him.
Ronnie Amati was in the neighborhood, but frantically, LaFleurs got back on it. Otherwise, this game could have been interesting again.
Card is active.
Titus Ryan back. Bombers take as much time as they can off the clock. Snap it with 1 second on the play clock. And this one gets by Ryan. And penalty markers down, and down goes Ryan, and Sadiq Shabazz is downfield on teams as well. 55-yard punt.
I'll tell you what, he has had a heck of a game. Sadiq Shabazz, I mean, special teams tackles, and I absolutely love it when the starters are making an impact on the teams and they make it a priority on the teams. And Sadiq Shabazz has been Mr. Everything.
During the return, illegal block. Calgary, number 33. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Dwight Anderson called for the illegal block and puts the Stamps in a deeper hole as they'll spot it at the 13.
Well, this is a close call on the illegal block, but it'll push Calgary back even further, and no Henry Burris again. It looks like his night is completely gone.
Derek Neely hands it off, and Derek Watson runs into Fred Perry. And one of the former Eskimos in this Winnipeg lineup.
They're quiet tonight, but again, you think about getting Doug Brown back. Tyrone Williams just back in his first game has rotated in. Gavin Walls. And then the leadership of Barron Simpson and a much stronger and more confident secondary behind them. This defense looks all right.
I know that was an area of concern for you, and that secondary has been shored up and has had a big night.
Oh, it really has, and I'll even take it further, Chris. I mean, I thought the last couple of years that the secondary in Winnipeg was just not good at all. I thought they were terrible. I thought that was one of the weaknesses, and Mike Kelly just shook that baby up in a hurry.
Craver, Lenny Walls, Jonathan Hefney, all newcomers back there. The 3-minute warning given to the benches at Canadians.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders were beginning to mount a comeback until this. Sadiq Shabazz, who has been all over the field on the special teams, made some big hits in this game in the first half, comes up with a big play there.
TSN Turning Point brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's. Third and short, the toss to Watson, and he'll be caught behind the line of scrimmage, and it's a turnover on downs. 5th turnover of the night. Ike Charlton had an interception earlier, makes the big defensive play here.
Gavin Wells on that side. He eats up a block. He allows Ike Charlton, who comes from the left of your screen, to slice in there. None of the pulling Calgary blockers got even a piece of Charlton. So they're resting Joffrey Reynolds with this game well in hand as well.
2:50 left. Stephon LaForce hands it off. Lavaris Giles makes the first man miss, and he's down inside the 5. And that's the guy that impressed everybody in the preseason.
Yeah, and I asked some of the Calgary coaches and defenders, some of the guys on defense, about Giles in the preseason and what they saw. And they said each guy, before they even got going, went, speed. He's got lots of speed. He can really run.
Wes Cates ends up in Saskatchewan out of Calgary, and Lavaris Giles may make an impact here in Winnipeg after starting in Calgary's camp.
And he looks small, but he's got a little weight on him. I mean, he's just over 200 pounds, 210.
Sprint champion of the SWAC conference, and looking for a second touchdown of the night.
And he showed he can run with a little power down on the goal line there.
Well, Milt Stegall night in Winnipeg, and the Bombers have been impressive.
There's what I'm talking about with regards to the power. Tristan Black tried to step up in the hole, and Lavaris Giles wins that battle.
Well, there were a lot of questions here in Winnipeg. What kind of team was this? Heartbreaker in Edmonton on a bad night, a bad field, but suddenly I think a lot more people are going to be buying into what Mike Kelly is selling.
A lot of the issues go away when you win. There's no question about that. But the one thing you know about the Bomber offense is that they do have a running game. Lavaris Giles, Fred Reed together. Been a real good combination, and they got some players on defense, and this baby was pretty much sewn up early in the contest with regards to this award.
Friday Night Gladiator brought to you by Movado, the Movado 800 Series, all about the art of performance where serious sports function meets power design.
Most of the time it goes down to the wire, and there are 3 or 4 finalists, a couple from each team. This baby was no contest. Sadiq Shabazz has been not only the Gladiator tonight, but the best player on the field tonight.
And tonight's Gladiator will receive a Movado Series 800 watch. And I think everybody was pretty well unanimous on that one tonight. I think he'll have room on the wrist for that.
Oh yeah, well, watch the pros are wearing. He might just go down and make the tackle here. The kickoff team.
42-18 Winnipeg. Titus Ryan again looks for a crease and finds one. Cross midfield and finally hauled down by Ike Charlton at the Blue Bomber 50-yard line. So Barrick Neely back in for his 3rd series of the night. I don't think anybody anticipated that John Hufnagel's defending champions would be 0-2, and because they're going to be, there's some bad blood on the field, and Mark Nelson trying to break things up.
He just wants to get his guys back on the sideline. And
Randy Chevrier barking, Keo Craver in the middle of it. Rick Campbell trying to play peacemaker. A lot of markers on the field, and they'll sort out another issue. We've had a couple of scraps and some tough calls, and And John Huffnagel wants to know what that was all about. Because he preaches discipline. His team took the fewest penalties in week 1.
Yeah, and Chris, you know what? Over the last year and 2 games now, this is the most upset I've seen John Huffnagel. You know, I know only once last year did they lose 2 in a row.
And we mentioned last week that this was a team that was in every game last year but one, right to the bitter end. And they made it interesting last week.
No, but they weren't.
But
other than some special teams plays, they weren't in that game really either. And this one, they weren't. They made a little push in the third quarter. But these slow starts are really hurting this football team. They just don't seem to have the intensity necessary.
We have unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg, number 20. We have unnecessary roughness. Calgary, number 31. We have unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg, number 10. Up 15 yards from the dead ball spot. First down.
So Craver, Lysak, and the Gladiator all are involved.
A couple of fistfights in this game. And he has been a Gladiator tonight. I mean, some big hits early on. I believe it was, sorry, Chris, I believe it was Kenyon Rambo on that one slant early on in the game, and the one that Jock Climby pointed out at halftime. Rambo, in his first game of 09, came across the middle, and Shabazz just put the helmet right on him.
The Stamp started the Bomber 35 after the penalties and the good return. And Barrick Neely finds Copeland over the middle, and Ian Logan brings him down at the 15. 20-yard pickup by Copeland.
We got off to a early start here in the run for Gladiator. And for all the players watching who would like one of those Movado watches, throw a few hits like that early in the game, and
Calgary, number 82, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Jonas was offside, so that wipes out the 20-yard pickup.
You automatically go to the top of the Gladiator list as far as guys that we have our eyes on. That was some kind of hit, and then he made the big play to seal the deal on the interception. That was a little icing.
Barrick Neely, quarterback drawn. This is when he's at his best, and
Shabazz.
Feet first lunge, took the helmet off Ian Logan, the safety.
Shabazz gets blocked. You know what? I'm just watching him for the remainder of this game. And I encourage fans to. He's getting blocked in the middle of your screen, turns back, throws himself in there again.
Speaking of throwing, that's a little bit of a MMA kick by Neely. We talked to John Huffnagel about Barrick Neely. He says he's making progress offensively, but this is what he's known for. His ability to run the football. That's a first down run.
Well, these are important reps for Barrick Neely. Any time you get a chance to play, you get some reps in live action, but keep in mind, again, this point in football games, when you have a big lead, the defense doesn't quite have that same zip, although Shabazz isn't slowing down at all.
We'll be in Calgary next week when they entertain the Toronto Argonauts. First down, Neely, open man, drop ball, and even Ryan Thelwell's not immune tonight. Pass a little behind the intended target.
Well, it has been an interesting couple of weeks for Mike Kelly and this Winnipeg coaching staff. He's had a few feuds with the media early on, and his message the entire time has been he wants to bring back Bomber football. And Bomber football was happening when I was playing. And I remember what it was like to come into this park and play against James West and Tyrone Jones and
Neely over the middle, and that's Bomber football.
Yeah, and I get a sore back and a headache thinking about it, because when you came to play in Winnipeg, You were in for a dogfight, and you knew one thing, it was going to be a physical game. And I think that's what Mike Kelly is trying to get this team to that level where they play with intensity, they play with an edge. I think they have a quarterback right now in Stephon LaForce that is managing games. I don't think he's done anything real dramatic even in this win, but he's managing well.
3rd and 10. Turn it over on downs a couple of times. Neely scrambling under pressure. Anybody there? Jump ball in the end zone. Copeland got it. What a play by Jermaine Copeland.
Well, the veteran got away with a little bit of a push-off before that one, but he'll take it.
It might be more than a little bit. Let's have another look.
Yeah, well, he definitely had his hands on the back. I think it was Jonathan Hefney that he was pushing off right there. No, it wasn't. It was Javon Johnson, number 2. And he definitely had his hands in sort of in the middle of the back. Gave him a little push just as the ball arrived, but he did win the jump ball.
And once again, the Stamps will go for 2. 1 for 2 in this department tonight. Watson won't get there. And it's 42-24 with 88 seconds remaining. 3rd down gamble and a 25-yard touchdown pass. Barrett Neely's first ever CFL touchdown toss. And the receiver who has more touchdown receptions than anybody else on the Stamps from Henry Burris gets the first from Barrett Neely.
Henry Burris has thrown 30 to Jermaine Copeland. There's 1 for Neely. By the way, the first for Henry Burris was to Alan Pitts.
So they're just about ready to kick off in Vancouver. Well, McCallum getting set to start proceedings there, and as soon as this is done, we'll take you out there. You mentioned New Mexico State, the big night for Sadiq Shabazz, and Mark Pierce hopes to continue that school trend tonight. And teams in the West are not going to complain that the defending champions are 0-2 out of the gate.
Makes this an even bigger game for the BC Lions.
DeAngelis getting the short kick set up. Another jump ball. Robbie Bryant didn't field it, dropped it. Nick Lewis has got it. And the Calgary Stampeders may not be done at the 32-yard line. 1:22 on the clock. And a last gasp here. The usually sure-handed Robbie Bryant.
Well, he had a good crack at it without being hit or interfered with. It just slipped through the breadbasket there on Bryant. He didn't extend to use his hands for the catch, and Lewis scooped it up.
Well, let's see if Neely can add to his totals. 5 receivers set. Again, Watson is the running back. Neely steps up, and he's going to get whistled down. Dorian Smith with the defensive play. And another defensive tackle likes that, and look forward to seeing the big man, Doug Brown, back in the lineup after that bout of meningitis. Lost 19 pounds. We are told he has regained 6 and will start practice again this week.
Just think about this defense that's looked really good tonight with the 5-time All-Canadian back in lineup.
2nd and 14, Neely over the middle, has the completion. Well, he wasn't feeling very well in Edmonton last week, and he said, I wasn't sure what kind of medication they were giving me because I woke up at one point and there was Jesse Lumsden beside me getting his shoulder checked. But that was actually the case, as Lumsden turned in turned out to be taken to the same university hospital in Edmonton after that Winnipeg-Edmonton game. Third down again, and that pass is caught for a first down by Ryan Thelwell.
Well, and Sadiq Shabazz was the guy who hit Lumsden to put him in there with Doug Brown in Edmonton.
Final minute here. Pierre-Luc Labbé trying to get on the field, and then he has to turn back. And the Stamps wanted a timeout. Play is going to be run anyway, and that was just chaos on both sides. Nick Lewis tried to call a timeout. The Bombers were trying to get a late substitution in. And the Gladiators shaken up on the play. And the training staff out to attend to Sadiq Shabazz.
Barrick Neely out there just sort of running and gunning. Try and show something, give maybe John Huffnagel something to think about, not to suggest at all that Henry Burris is not suggesting that by any means, but backup quarterback always wants to plant that seed for someday down the road where he says, you know, I trust the guy if I have to go to him.
Find out what happened to Shabazz. Gavin Walls and Shabazz.
Like that right knee when his foot planted there, his right knee kind of flexed in where it's not supposed to bend. There you see the downside. I mean, the downside of not catching the onside kick. Because if the Bombers get possession there, they can probably kill most of the clock. It looks like he'll be okay, which is good news, because what a game he's had tonight. I'd love to see him continue to play into week 3, because all-star performance from Shabazz tonight.
2nd and 10 from the Bomber 12-yard line. And Neely looking into the corner. Teo Johnson's got a touchdown. Well, a little late window dressing here by the Stampeders. Teo Johnson had one touchdown against the Bombers last year and has one here.
He's the tight end, and he's been basically just been asked to block through the evening when he's working on the field, and this time he releases and goes for that corner route and kind of slips by the coverage.
Brother Rial on the injury list right now with a hamstring on the Bomber roster. Otherwise, we would have had a matchup with two different sets of brothers tonight. And now they'll go for 2. 4th time in the game they've gone for 2, and Kenyon Rambo is going to be stopped short. They're 1 for 4.
Well, exact same play that Henry Burris threw it to Kenyon Rambo on the exact same guy in coverage in Javon Johnson. And he said, hey, I read your book. You know, I've seen this play already. I've seen this movie. I know how it ends. It ended last time with Rambo in the end zone, so I'm going to be there a little quicker, and keeps him up.
So 28 seconds remaining, then we'll take you to BC Place Stadium. And Mike Kelly is going to earn his first win as a CFL head coach. And we'll get set for a game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats next week. Saturday in Hamilton, and the Cats right now on the field at BC Place Stadium.
Well, we get to see the onside kick one more time as they try and figure out what Calgary is going to do alignment-wise. Looks like they're overloading the right side. So Winnipeg trying to react to that.
DeAngelis has everybody in motion, and now puts it up again. Jump ball, and this time the Bombers come up with it Bobby Bryant makes amends for the last mishandle.
And that about should do it.
Mike Kelly just got doused. Winner for the first time, and Stefan LaFleur is also winner for the first time, and the fans now that have remained are on their feet for a coach they weren't quite as excited about earlier in the week. But that might douse a lot of the criticism of a coach who has certainly been in the line of fire in the lead up to this game.
And it's so early. It's game 2, and you don't want to say a team is over in game 1, and you don't want to plan the parade route in game 2 when they win. But
this guy, Lavaris Giles.
A lot of good things tonight, and that was one of them. Lavaris Giles, Fred Reed, Chris, as well as their defense. I think more than anything, Mike Kelly's defense looks good, real good. They get Doug Brown back. You know, they can win some games, I think, on that side of the ball alone. And then just allow Stefan LaFleur, who was 0-6 as a starter coming in, gets his first win as a starting quarterback.
So it's a special night in Winnipeg, and now they'll just let the clock run down. They have to do it. Nope, that'll do it. It is in the books. Mike Kelly, a winning head coach for the Canadian Football League, and Stefan LaFleur is a winning starting quarterback. Bombers 1-1. Calgary 0-2 as we head to Vancouver.